Gin Games!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Gin here with another League of Legends champion guide for you. Today, we're going to be discussing a sad little Yordle boy. He's cute and adorable, and many love him, but he just can't stop crying. If only he could find his mummy. This is, of course, Amumu, the sad mummy. Don't let his doleful demeanor fool you, though. He is a force to be reckoned with on the fields of justice. Join me now to learn how to Amumu. Amumu is an ability power-based tank who shines in the jungle. He excels at disrupting his enemies, engaging fights, absorbing damage, and providing tons of area of effect damage himself. He clears the jungle very quickly and can gank like nobody's business, ranging from pretty good before level 6 to almost guaranteed kill after you get your ultimate. He does a decent amount of damage with his own abilities to boot and can amp that up to crazy levels if built properly. His passive is Cursed Touch. Whenever he hits an enemy with a basic attack, their magic resistance is reduced by a flat amount for 3 seconds. This does not stack with subsequent attacks, but it will refresh the duration. The amount scales with level, ranging from 15 at level 1 to 25 at level 13. Keep in mind that almost all champions only have 30 to start with, and most of them don't gain any magic resistance as they level. And this is a reduction effect, meaning it benefits your allies' attacks and, combined with other effects, can even reduce someone's resistance below 0, making your powers stronger. Whenever you start attacking someone, be it champion, minion, or monster, be sure to do some basic attacking to increase your magic damage. Our little Yordle buddy's Q is Bandage Toss. Those wraps are starting to come off, it seems, but that can be used to his advantage. He tosses a bandage forward in a line. If it comes into contact with an enemy, Amumu will immediately pull himself to the target and deal magic damage to it, as well as stunning it for 1 second. This is Amumu's primary means of initiation, allowing him to enter fights, even from over walls, as well as letting him keep fleeing opponents in place. He can even use it to escape himself, hopping over walls to a monster in the jungle, or using a minion as a springboard for an extra boost of distance. The sad mummy's W is Despair. Ever wonder why Summoner's Rift has that big stream down the middle? Well, Amumu's been crying a river. Despair is a toggled ability. Whenever you press it, he can't hold back anymore and just starts crying. What a sadistic button to have! Somehow, this crying deals magic damage to all enemies around him. It deals a flat base damage each second, as well as a percentage of the enemy's maximum health as magic damage. The percent taken away scales with Amumu's ability power too. Despair is a massive source of damage, both in the jungle and in teamfights, but costs quite a lot of mana to keep up. 8 mana per second doesn't seem like much, but Amumu doesn't have very much to start with. Be careful when using Despair and turn it off when it's unnecessary so that you don't consume it all. One of the stages of grief is, of course, anger. With Amumu, we can represent that with his E ability, Tantrum. Sometimes you just gotta let it all out in a rage. Tantrum has a passive and active effect. Passively, Tantrum reduces the amount of physical damage he takes by a small amount. Note that this includes spells that deal physical damage as well as basic attacks. The passive alone is quite strong, reducing damage taken significantly in the jungle as well as against heavy damage dealers like AD Marksman. When you activate the ability, Amumu simply deals magic damage to everything around him, which of course scales with his ability power. The cooldown of this active portion is reduced by half a second each time Amumu is hit by an attack. Combine this with its already short cooldown for a near constant source of damage. Finally, Amumu's ultimate is Curse of the Sad Mummy. On activation, he deals magic damage to all enemies around him and entangles them, rendering them incapable of moving or attacking for 2 seconds. Note, and this is very important, entanglement is not the same as stunning them. Entangled enemies can't run away or use basic attacks, but they can still cast spells. Furthermore, if they were channeling an ability, you will not cancel it with Curse of the Sad Mummy. Katarina's ultimate will still go off. That's what Bandage Toss is for. Nevertheless, this is an extremely powerful spell, capable of locking the entire enemy team down for your allies to beat the snot out of. You can engage with a Bandage Toss or a Flash to surprise them all with a Curse. As an area of effect lockdown, Curse of the Sad Mummy synergizes extremely well with AoE damage spells your allies may have. Misfortune's Bullet Time, Fiddlesticks' Crow Storm, anything like that will do tons of damage while your enemies can do naught but watch as they fall over dead. Obviously, you'll want to take points in Curse of the Sad Mummy as often as you can, but let's talk about skilling order otherwise. Generally speaking, in the jungle you will want to take your first point in Despair. At rank 1, this provides more consistent damage per second against the buff creatures, which is what you want. After that though, you want to max out Tantrum first for more damage as well as the tankiness it provides. Take a point in Bandage Toss at level 3 or 4, whenever you decide to start ganking. Once Tantrum is at rank 5, you can choose either Bandage Toss or Despair to complete second. More points in Bandage Toss will increase your initial burst in a gank, as well as reduce the cooldown, allowing for more stuns. More points in Despair will increase your damage over time significantly, and is better if you've already entered the teamfight phase, or don't have much opportunity to gank. In a big fight, after all, you'll likely only be using Bandage Toss once. For summoner spells, if you are jungling, you should of course take Smite. Flash complements Amumu's kit well, allowing him to position himself instantly for a fight-changing Curse of the Sad Mummy or Bandage Tossed. Ghost is also a reasonable option, letting him keep up with fleeing enemies so he can keep harassing them with his AoE abilities. If, for whatever reason, you aren't jungling with Amumu, be it in the top lane versus a heavy physical champion, or as a support focusing on bandage tosses, you might consider Exhaust for yet another source of crowd control. As for runes, I take flat armor marks and seals, magic resistance per level blues, and movement speed quintessences. All in all, this makes him quite tanky and capable of keeping up with his opponents. In the past, I've used magic penetration marks, but I find that they do not always synergize well with Amumu's passive. If an enemy's resistance is reduced to 0 or below, these will quite literally do nothing. Still, you won't always be able to hit them with your passive first, and penetration is good on its own, so use these if you so choose. For Masteries, I take 0-21-9 for increased tankiness, jungle bonuses, some mana regen, and movement speed. It's pretty straightforward, really. He doesn't need any bonus damage or anything like that from Masteries to do well in the jungle, only the ability to survive it all. Amumu has a number of options for items, even when he starts. He can, of course, clear the jungle with the standard Hunter's Machete and 5 health potions. He can also do it with Cloth Armor. Or heck, with his Sapphire Crystal, he can temporarily solve his mana problems and start at red buff. On his first time back to base, Amumu will want to try and pick up some boots and either a Philosopher's Stone or a Spirit Stone. Both of these will accomplish roughly the same objective, giving more sustain and more gold, be it in the form of actual gold or slightly faster jungle clearing. They become very different items though. That Philosopher's Stone can become a Shirelia's Reverie, acting as a ghost for himself and his whole team. The Spirit Stone can become either a Spirit of the Ancient Golem for some awesome tanky power, or Spirit of the Spectral Wraith for added damage, some sustain in its own way through Spellvan, and some awesome cooldown reduction on Smite. Those boots have many options. They can become Mercury Treads for some tenacity, though if you have Spirit of the Ancient Golem that's unnecessary. Ninja Tabi provide yet more defense against physical damage. Personally, I prefer Boots of Mobility, so Amumu can roam and gank even more. Next, some more area of effect damage and tankiness. If physical damage on the enemy team is presenting a problem, Sunfire Cape is your item of choice. If magic damage is looking scary, and or you have significant magic damage of your own on your team, get Abyssal Scepter. It synergizes extremely well with Amumu's passive, and will very often drop your target of your assault's magic resistance to less than 0. That Sapphire Crystal we mentioned earlier could become a Frozen Heart, and that Cloth Armor start could become a Locket of the Iron Solari or Randuin's Omen. Lastly, for straight defense, consider Warmog's Armor for massive health that your enemies will have a hard time breaking through. If you want some ability power while still beefing up your defenses, consider Liandry's Torment for extra damage, especially in conjunction with your Q and ult. Rylai's Crystal Scepter to make sure they stay in range of your AoE damage, or Zhonya's Hourglass to make absolutely certain that you'll never die. I mean, you're undead already, but why not? Finally, if you want to go all out bonkers crazy and blow people up all by yourself, buy a Rabadon's Death Cap. Amumu's biggest problem throughout the game is his mana. He has a very small pool to start with, and it can be costly to use Despair and Tantrum as often as you should. For this reason, Amumu should almost always begin jungling at the blue buff. Even when he starts at red, as I suggested he might with the Sapphire Crystal, he can really only go straight to blue and have enough mana for that encounter. Many opponents know this and will try to capitalize on his weakness here, so be very wary of jungle invasions at level 1. If he doesn't get blue, clearing the jungle will take a very long time. With it though, he's quite quick, able to clear it all to level 4 on his own in 3.5 minutes. If your team's mage can go without it, he should likely take the next blue buff as well. Being a skill shot, Bandage Toss can often be difficult to land, especially when ganking. Minions can get in the way, fleeing enemies might flash out of range, or sometimes we just miss. So while it's often a good idea to initiate with a Bandage Toss, save it if you can for once they start running or run past you. The closer they are, the easier it will be to land. And don't forget, you can toss it over walls and at monsters as well, allowing you to surprise the enemy at dragon, or hop past wards and take their buffs. A common combination is to use Bandage Toss to jump into the enemy team so that you can cast Curse of the Sad Mummy and dump all your other spells, but save it if you can. If you flash in, for example, instead, or simply wander in if they for some reason let you, you can then use Bandage Toss to keep one of them in place longer afterward. Amumu is a powerful tank and absolute king of team fights. Initiate for your team, lock them down, and get the party started. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you have enjoyed this guide, please let me know by hitting the like button. Speak up in the comments below if you have advice or questions. We're all here to learn. Subscribe for future content, including champion guides, gameplay guides, and other possibly not LOL content. Follow me on Twitch for streams and Twitter and Facebook to see what else is going on. Till next time, I've been Gin, and you've been watching me talk about a video game. Now come on.
Let's find some friends.
Waking up.